came along when I was losing, and you just walked into my life, and there was light where there had been darkness once before, and there was day where there had been night.
Chapter 8. I slept in on Sunday morning until afternoon. As I strolled into the living room, my dad hit me with one of his favorite lines, "Up for all day?" I use that line a lot on my own kids. It's a small way to honor my dad. In fact, I try to do a lot of little things like that as a way of honoring all the people that are important in my life. Phrases, gestures, looks, and a host of other things that I try to incorporate in my daily life. I've thrown many of them in this book or in the songs of this book. This may have been the day I was most apprehensive about, and yet most excited about as well. Today I would drive to Mendota to see if I could get a glimpse of Liz. I had thought about this for a couple of days and had finally decided to go through with it. But unlike Robbie or Lori, or everybody else in my 16-year-old young world, Liz and I didn't know each other, and we wouldn't for another few years, so interacting was out of the question. But I had to go. Wanted to go. I stopped to gas up the Malibu and bought a pair of sunglasses and was back in the car before I realized that I didn't need sunglasses. Nobody knew me, so no one would recognize me, so the glasses were totally unneeded. Oh well. I'd wear them for the drive. I took with me the only 3 8-track tapes I owned: Blood Rock 3, Chicago 2, and Chicago Transit Authority. And I set out. God, I loved to drive. We hung out a lot in our cars in those days. No one had apartments, and some days you needed to be out from the parents, so we drove and talked and listened to music and drove. The best song to drive to? Climax Blues Band's song, Towards the Sun. Today would be about 2 hours to Liz's house, which would be plenty of time to remember and reflect. My thoughts naturally went to Liz. We would meet at Southern Illinois in Carbondale, in the dorms on campus. She was a friend to the new friends that I had met on my floor, and soon the guys from my dorm and the girls from her dorm were hanging out. Beyond being beautiful, she had a certain virtue that distinguished her from the others. I remember a poster she had in her bathroom. It pictured the world and some of the marvelous creatures in it. The caption read something like this: "How could all this be mere chance?" A purposed world. Yeah, I liked that. Believe it or not, her record collection told me a lot about how sensitive and caring she was. And she would introduce me to some great artists like Jackson Browne, Joni Mitchell, Gordon Lightfoot, and the first Christian artist I would ever hear, Paul Clark. And that day I was really on two paths. One was heading towards God, and the other was heading towards addiction. She would be my angel. Being a minister's daughter, we would talk about God, and it would reaffirm my direction. She stood at a fork in the road and walked the right choice out with me. She encouraged my dreams and my destiny. But I had never dated. I had but one little kiss under my belt with a girl. So due to my extreme shyness around women, it almost never happened. For months I kind of hemmed and hawed around it. But I knew she liked me, so eventually I knew it would work out. But for a long time, while I was scared, didn't know how to act around her.
Where do I begin? Where do I venture in to knock upon a door of possibilities? I'm oh so cavalier, open my mouth up to cover my fear, but you smiled and played along with awkward first intentions. I lost my breath whenever you said yes. When looking downward I asked if I might kiss you, and even that you walked me through all these new rooms to explore. Yeah, and all my rusty locks fell to the floor. And if you wished for the brightest star, would you consider a crescent moon? And if I'm late, baby, wait. I will bring it
Along with a friend, we started going to church together. One night we left a party to go to a midnight service, and there the preacher talked about how God the Father wanted us to have our heart's desire. He put the desire there and wanted to fulfill it. Wow, the pastor was speaking directly to me. We first hugged each other in the church, and then back at the party came the first kiss. The second came later at the party, and the third came when I dropped her off at her apartment. I was taking her and another male friend of mine home. After I dropped her off, my friend told me I was stupid for dropping her off first, and that I should have dropped him off. I wasn't stupid. That was my plan. I was just scared. She would be my one and only. I knew it, probably way before she did. After dropping the male friend off, I knew I couldn't sleep. So I drove out to the lake near where I lived. I used to sit out there and meditate. It was a clear, moon-filled night. I'm 22 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm in love. And it's wonderful. This is the wonder of creation. And although trees and stars and oceans are inspiring to some degree, they pale in comparison to love. The joy of being in love and in the emotions that are stimulated is certainly creation's finest moment. And I sat there at peace. All was right in my world tonight. I had discovered a lot of important people in my life and would discover many more whom God had ordained me to meet that would bring a blessing to my life. But Liz would be the pinnacle. She would be the most important and the most precious of all. At least for me, I've come to believe that a woman is a man's other half. We complete each other. Eve was taken out of Adam. They were parts of a whole. I had found my other half and would recognize that many times over in the years to come. I've been fortunate to have had a few divine encounters. When God appears in one's world, when we can see His hand evident, I consider that a divine encounter. Tonight was one of those times. As I sat there in the glow of the moonlight, basking in what had just happened to me, I saw out of the corner of my eye 2 ducks swimming from different directions, converging right in front of me. They then proceeded to swim off together till they were out of my sight. The message was clear, and I knew that we would be together forever.